Sometimes I say I'm going to meet my sister at the cafe, even though I have no sister, just because it's such a beautiful thing to say. I've always thought so, ever since I read a novel in which two sisters were constantly meeting in cafes. Today, for example, I walked alone on the wet sidewalk, wearing my rain boots, expecting someone might ask where I was headed. I bought a steno pad and a watch battery. The store windows fogged up. Rain in April is a sort of promise, and it costs nothing. I carried a bag of books to the cafe and ordered tea. I like a place that's lit by lamps. I like a place where you can hear people talk about small things, like the difference between azure and cerulean, and the price of tulips. It's going down. I watched someone who could be my sister walk in, shaking the rain from her hair. I thought even now, florists are filling their coolers with tulips, $5 a bundle. All over the city, there are sisters. Any one of them could be mine. Thank you.
And we're back here with Mikala Gnerre, the winner of Poetry Out Loud this year for BHS. She is going to be moving on to the state competition representing our school. So our first question for you is, what made you choose the poem that you did?
So the first poem that I chose, the Emily Bronte poem, Why Because the Dazzling Sun, I chose because I had actually found it my freshman year, and I decided to go with a different one of Emily Bronte's poem because at the time I felt my maturity level had matched that one better, and I could connect to that one more at the time. And for some school requirement for my class last year, I couldn't pick it, and it just felt like the right time, so I was very excited for that one. And More Lies by Karen Gottsched, the second one I memorized, I chose it primarily because I needed an under 25 line one.
Yeah.
I did. So I was limited in that sense, but I read through a lot of them, and I spent a very long time picking my poems because it's very hard to perform something if you can't relate to it in any way.
Yeah.
There are so many poems on that website.
There are so
You
many.
Scroll through and you're like,
I pick a terrible one every year. I don't spend a lot of time looking at it. Yeah, for sure. So that leads us into our second question, actually. What exactly would you credit your success to in this competition, and what tips would you give for people like me, or I don't know about you, but I don't do so good.
Okay. I've gone to semifinals every year, but I'm always like at the bottom of semifinals.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't. That is not me at all. I don't make it anywhere. Yeah. So what tips would you give for people?
I think my first one, if it's not too obvious, is that to recognize it's difficult. Mm-hmm. I do compete poetry on our slam team, and I've been doing that since my freshman year. I've been reciting and performing, and it's just something that you have to kind of desensitize yourself to, right, in a sense. Also asking for help from people who know what they're doing. I have asked so many teachers, and I definitely credit Miss Janovitz and Miss Graham and Mr. Hill and the librarians and
yeah,
my mom, people who have experience performing and who know how to help you. They can really kind of put you at ease. And again, just back to picking a poem that means something to you. Yeah. If you are reading it or memorizing it and it's not fun and you don't like it, then you pick something else because you're going to make it miserable.
Yeah. That's the issue that I have every year, is that I pick a poem that meets the requirements, and then I don't quite understand what it means. And then I go and perform it for the grade, and then I'm done. Yeah. But I really like that kind of thing. I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I like doing stuff like this in BCAT here, so it's definitely something I like doing, but it's not something I put a lot of effort into, which I feel like I should do more. But I'm out of time now, so. Yes, but you have another year.
Yeah. I think my problem is I can memorize it easy, and I normally pick a poem that I like I could spend an hour on that, just scrolling through doing that. But my problem is that I don't really know how to perform it, or like I get so nervous before I go up, and I just like I'm sweating, and I'm like I can't do this. My heart beats fast, and I don't have stage fright, but I have that portion of stage fright. So like, how do you deal with that?
So I've gone to semifinals every year, and then my first year in finals was my sophomore year, and I was shaking so bad, and you could hear it in my voice, and I like felt like I didn't know anything. But honestly, this year I just kind of, there were some nerves, just more that I put on myself, being afraid of messing up and just knowing how hard I had practiced. Yeah. I think it really just comes down to the amount of times you've done it. Like, this was my 5th and 6th time reciting poems in front of an entire auditorium. Yeah. And like, another aspect of it is like, I'm a senior. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like it does get easier. Like, even I've noticed that, where like I now get up in front of my class. I'm like, you know what?
My freshman year, the first time I spoke in front of my class was awful. I have a recording of it, and it is miserable.
I think the only reason I made it freshman year was because no one in my class wanted to go. I was the only one that was like, sure, I'll go speak in front of people.
I did great at first.
Ooh.
And if you went to semifinals, you got 100, and that's what drove me.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that the nerves are important though, right? Like, you get comfortable with it, but if you weren't nervous at all, it wouldn't go very well. If you weren't like anxious about being prepared kind of thing, then it doesn't. Like, if you look at what was it? Lewis. I forgot all of his lines. Yeah. It was sad, but like I think that he was too confident and he didn't prepare enough, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Mikala, for talking with us today, and the school is looking forward to seeing your performance in the state competition. We'll leave with a clip of your second poem, and following that, we have an autocomplete interview where questions are asked and we see what Google has to say about the answers.
Oh, stars and dreams and gentle night, oh, night and stars, return and hide me from this hostile light that does not warm but burn, that drains the blood of suffering men, drinks tears instead of dew. Let me sleep through his blinding rain and only wake with you. Thank you.